DBSCG things.
What's up, Yuhp gang? It's your boy Taxon, and welcome back to Yuhp DBSCG Things, and today we're going over another very exciting deck profile, guys. This is going to be the deck that took first place at our most recent locals. This is Starter Deck Vegito. But before we get into it, guys, I do want to say, if you guys want any custom mats and or sleeves, absolutely check out Promats, guys. This is the best place to go get your custom card needs, and if you guys do decide to get a mat from them, make sure you use the promo code Yuhp to save on your entire order. With that being said, if you guys enjoyed this list or my content in general, remember to hit all those buttons for me, like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And with that being said, let's turn it around and check out the list. Alrighty, you guys, and here we are with the undefeated list this week, taking it with his Vegito, also recently supported deck, so very, very excited to see there. Really quickly, I do want to say that it is unfortunate I did not hit the start button on the finals match for this week, so we did miss the very exciting game in which this deck performed with us against Cooler. So go ahead and tell us about, of course, your deck and your matches today.
So this is the starter deck Vegito, the Unison Vegito, effectively. This is probably one of my favorite blue leaders in the game. I had to stop using him for a while just because the support for him wasn't really all that great. But we recently got support for him from the anniversary box, and I only run a good chunk of it, or actually use a good chunk of it, I should say. So, but it definitely makes a difference. It definitely adds more spice to the deck, makes it a little more consistent, or at least gives it a little more of the oomph that it needed from previous sets. So front side, when it attacks, draw a card, standard. If it's your opponent's turn and one of your unisons will be placed in the drop area, or one of your blue battle cards is removed by a skill or KO'd, this leader awakens immediately, and then you draw 2 cards. And then he also has a secondary awaken. If he's down at 4 life, you can do the hybrid awaken, flip 1, and then draw 1. So pretty standard on that. Backside's when he gets fun. When he attacks, draw a card, and then activate battle. You choose one of your unisons. It gets plus 10k power, and then triple strike for the battle. So that is basically your win con, more or less. His once per turn is if it's your opponent's turn and one of your blue battle cards is removed from the battle area, or one of your unisons is placed in the drop area, you untap 1 energy and then draw a card. So it's pretty consistent in terms of shuffling through your deck, filtering through your deck, drawing cards. 3 of my matches today were Cooler Mill. That was obnoxious. Thankfully this deck runs mostly on Unison, so that wasn't really a problem for me. So you play a lot of coolers, you play a lot of cards that can be removed easily, and then you're just consistently drawing and untapping. So it is a fantastic blue leader, I think. Some of the support, which of course I'll get into later, definitely makes it a little bit better than it already kind of was. So we'll get into some of the staples here. A lot of the cards I run in here are blasts from the past, cards that were good with this leader before. This is Dr. Rhoda. This card is a blocker, and then auto when he's KO'd. You untap 1 energy. What's really neat about him is if I see him my turn 1, he is my turn 1 go-to no matter what. If I do see him turn 1, I play him. Basically, no matter what happens, if my opponent swings, I'm awakening on their turn 1. So that is really awesome. And then when he is KO'd, he untaps an energy, and then your leader skill will untap another energy and you'll draw a card. So you're getting 2 energy and you're getting a 1-card draw, which is insane value for 1 energy. But regardless though, even if he's not KO'd by his own skill, or KO'd by using blocker, you still get your 1 if your opponent removes it. You're untapping your draw, so all phenomenal. So old school, this is what everybody ran with that card back in the day. Going with more of OG support, this similar to the Dr. Rhoda, he's a blocker, and then except when he is played, if you have Unison in play, you draw a card. So more of the same. If he uses his blocker, he's gotten rid of, you'll draw a card, get an energy, and then if you control Unison, which the way you run this deck, you'll almost always have Unison. It's pretty hard not to, which we'll definitely get into later. Chances are every time you play this card, you'll draw a card. If I have to play this card turn 1 to guarantee my turn 1 awaken, then I will. You know, it happens every once in a while, but clean staple, definitely a card you want to keep in the deck. So then we'll get into the anniversary box cards, the cards that basically help run the deck. They give that little extra oomph that it needed. This Vegito is amazing. He's triple strike barrier. If your leader card is a Vegito card, you can play this for 4 energy, activate main. And then if you don't have Unison play, you can play 1 Gogeta Unison from your hand with a marker on it. There's 2 Unisons you can play with this. We'll get into those cards later, but also when he Attacks, you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards and bottom deck it, which is really good, so he's decent spot removal. And then on your opponent's turn, if this card is in rust mode and you have a Gogeta Unison in play, he will gain plus 5k power for your opponent's turn. So it kind of helps add some defense to your Unison, so that's really, really good. So of course, him being a big barrier, 30k card, it goes in tangent with the Unisons, which we'll go into later, why that's really, really good. Going into another anniversary support card that's really good. She is strictly a searcher. The way I use her anyway. She does have an activate main. If she's in the drop area, you can pay 1 blue energy to warp her, and you can play 1 Gogeta Unison from either your hand or your drop area. And then if you play it from your hand, you do get to draw a card, so that's really, really cool. But mostly she is just a top card, search for a blue Saiyan, energy cost 4 or less, or a 2 cost Unison, which I have 8 in this deck. Excuse me, so I very rarely miss, fortunately. So she's really good for getting your play started and searching out your power, or searching out your main cards. Excuse me. So this was a tech of mine, almost strictly for removal, because blue by itself typically doesn't have, this deck by itself doesn't have the best removal in the world. This card came in clutch every single matchup. Really, really good card. As I said, 3 of my matchups were cooler. They're just spamming battle cards, going wide. This is the only way I could deal with them. This Ssb Deflect Double Strike, his energy cost is reduced for each Z energy your opponent has. So as soon as they have 2 Z energy, which they don't usually do, this will become a 2 cost. When he's played, you draw a card, you choose 3 of your opponent's battle cards in their battle area or their drop area, which I only choose battle area just for the removal, and they have to Z charge it. And then if there happens to be 7 or more Z energy between you and your opponent, if they use a counter of any kind once per turn, they have to Z charge a card from hand. So pretty good overall, and he's a 30k double strike, so he's just good generic pressure, but I typically use him for the removal. Like I said, super clutch, he's staying in, kind of have to have him, unfortunately. Since this is a Unison deck, I run OG Heroic Prospect. I'm sure most of you know what this does, but as a reminder, yeah, which reprint? There's about 80 of them. Anyway, so this card, counterattack, negate the attack. If you control a Unison, his energy cost is reduced by 2, so he becomes a 1 cost. And then when he's played, your opponent can't attack with battle cards with energy cost greater than the current energy unless they bottom deck 2 cards. So obviously this recycles Unisons very, very easily, so this is just kind of a no-brainer, good floodgate. I am considering putting the 17s in too. I had to kind of think about my Z energy situation. I did add another Unison in this deck that actually fixes my Z energy situation very perfectly, so I will be adding them eventually. But for the time being, this did good.
I believe that 17 reads just for a Z card in play.
It does.
So if you were to play your Z extra card that we got from the anniversary box, you could easily turn that card on.
Maybe. That's good to know, actually. More anniversary box set stuff. Unique barrier. If you control a Gogeta, I think it's just a Gogeta Unison, so one of the 2 that's out there. His energy cost is reduced by 2. When he is played, you draw a card, and then when he is in rest mode, your opponent can't attack Unisons. So, and he's got barrier. So good defense for your Unisons, help keep them alive as well as you can. Kind of forces them to have to go after this, and which is really nice with this leader skill because chances are they're going to remove this first, and if they remove it, your leader skill will go off and get you an untap and a draw. So all really good, all really consistent, fabulous stuff. We'll get into the Unisons later, that's why that's good. Going into super combos, kind of a no-brainer. The only downside to this super combo is I don't go down to 4 or less life very easily, and if I do, it's usually not till later games, so trying to get this super combo live is kind of a pain in the ass. I don't know what other super combo I would switch to as of right now. I'm still kind of going over that, but until I find a better option, good generic blue, good stuff, this is just where I have to go.
Your leader, when you awaken with the auto of a card being removed, it doesn't take any life, correct? It's just untap one, draw one.
Nope.
Yeah, so if you're at 8 life and you just play a blocker turn 1, you're just awakening and...
I'm awakening turn 1 and it's a draw 2. So, and then if they get rid of the battle card, if I have another battle card when I awaken, it'll be an untap. So yeah, I go down, I don't know if I mentioned that, but if you awaken from the front skill, you do not go down in life like most of your average leaders. So staying at 8 life for a good chunk of the game is actually really easy in this deck. So actually, my last matchup, my opponent did 1 whole damage to me. 1 whole damage. I took the other damage. I was at 6 life the whole time. More good, blue generic. Not much to say about this one. If you got the space, you're blue, you play bean. Deck space is a little tight on this one, so I'm only running the 3 bean. I may or may not try to fit another one in. I don't think it's really necessary. As my battle cards and my unisons are being removed, I'm getting untaps anyway. So this isn't super necessary, but again, it's blue. You on blue, you got the space, you're on bean. I've said that 100 times. This is a tech for your floodgates, your Friezas, your Oceanuses. Again, 3 coolers today. I'm very salty about that, by the way. Really, really good card. If your opponent's playing a battle card with energy cost 2 or less, this will put it back in the hand. And then you can choose to place one of your battle cards, energy cost 3 or less, back in your hand if you want to. That skill hasn't really come up for me. It's usually just for getting rid of the floodgates. But really good card. I'm definitely going to keep that in there. Kind of helps with my aggro situation. Moving on to more generic blue stuff. Not much to say here. You're blue. You run 4 if you got the space for it. I don't think I've ever not run 4 of these in a blue deck. You got fiber, you got the sparking, restand 2 energy, negate. I don't think there's a whole lot I have to say here. I think pretty much everyone knows what this does.
I think I cut that to 3 in Android 21, but that's just because that deck has a billion negates.
Yeah, it plays them very easily as well. Going into battle cards, going back into battle cards a little bit. This card is more of a cantrip if I'm in an awkward situation where my opponent is trying to run me down and I've got unisons out and they decide not to bypass. Actually, you know what? We'll just do it this way. It'll be a lot easier. So I run all of the Gogeta unisons. I run 3 of that one. And then I run 4 of the original. So all 7 of these Gogetas have a similar skill, a permanent. If you have a Saiyan in rest mode, you can't take damage. And then the 3-drop one has a skill, he's dual attack. And then the permanent, as I just explained, Saiyan can't take damage. He has a -1 where you can choose 2 of your opponent's battle cards, energy cost. Actually, doesn't have a restriction on that. Choose 2 of your opponent's battle cards and put them back in the hand, and then play a 2-drop from your hand if you have it. I almost never use that. But and then there's the 2-drop, similar permanent, can't take damage if you have a blue Saiyan. Activate +/-. If you rest a battle card or a leader card, he'll gain a marker, which is where this card comes in. You play him for 1 energy, rest him, and then you draw a card, he'll gain a marker. So literally designed for this guy specifically. And then last one, -2, draw a card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, energy cost greater than their current energy, ignoring barrier, and place it at the bottom of the deck, which I use every once in a while. This leader, or this unison, kind of has trouble building markers, just because I don't always have this in play in order to do it, so I don't see that part very often. He's mostly just unison to prevent the damage. And then that's where these come into play. These are activate battles of my leader card is a blue Saiyan, and I have a... what was it again? I have a blue unison card in play. I can free play this in rest mode. So if my opponent goes in, I have no battle cards out, they go in on a swing, go in all out, I control one of these unisons, I can literally free play this and I don't take damage. So comes up every once in a while. It's just kind of like a free cantrip. That's only there's 1 or 2 of them in there. It's not something I see very often. Other than that, he's either energy or he's just combo fodder.
He's a 3 cost or less blue Saiyan too, so he's relatively searchable.
Yeah, he's actually very searchable in this deck. So if it comes down to it, I can find him very easily. But yeah, that's the primary unison package for the deck. The 8-drop Vegito can play either one of these unisons because they're both Gogeta unisons. So he can play this one with 1 marker out, which is phenomenal. So on your opponent's turn, he will be a 25k unison. And then when he's out, big 30k barrier, hard to get rid of. It's a nice little wall your opponent has to get over in order to deal some damage. So it's a lot of fun. I hardly use these combos today.
Get over that wall, you just...
Exactly. I hardly use these combos today only because, like I said, I ran into so many cooler matchups today that I kind of focused on a different combo, which we'll get into now. Boo unison, blue deck, Unison, not much to say here. Activate main, draw 1 card at the end of your turn. You get to untap an energy, and then when your opponent attacks with a battle card, you can -1 marker, choose it, place it at the bottom of the deck, and then he's a double strike blocker. So good generic, and he's limited, so I can only have the 1. So not much to say there. Going into my big play for the day, just because this Unison is phenomenal with this leader. This is the Android Unison. I think that was designed specifically for Gamma, if I'm not mistaken. I only have 1 SPR, unfortunately. This Unison is phenomenal. Activate once per turn when a player attacks with literally anything. You combo with a 5 or with a battle card with a 5K combo from your drop area, and then this card will automatically gain a marker. So it's gaining markers on your turn, your opponent's turn, and back to your turn again. So it's gaining markers super fast. I got it all the way up to 11 markers one game because my opponent just wasn't touching it. And then a really, really neat -4. It'll gain plus 10K in dual attack, which is phenomenal for this leader. So it'll gain the dual attack from that, and then 10K, so it'll be a 25K base. Pay 2 more blue energy, give it another 10K in triple strike, 35K base, triple strike. Don't really need to say more. It's just
card's absolutely snapped in this deck. And the thing that I want to point out too is like if you're against this deck and you manage to not take a marker on this the turn that he played it, the very next turn you're getting dual attack triple strike. Just always expect it, because he's gonna swing lead first. Like, all right, so turn, play it, swing with whatever, goes up to 3. Your turn, it goes up to 4, and now it's back to his turn. He swings. He's gonna go up to 5 off the combo here, and then he's gonna go minus swing. Oh, if you don't negate, I'm doing this. Okay, do it again. I mean, that sneak is just absolutely crazy.
It's pretty insane. I got it off twice today, so I absolutely love it. So this is definitely a staple. It's definitely, I've got 2 different engines in here. I got this engine if I want to focus on it, and I've got the Gogeta engine. The Gogeta engine is a little less sloppy, but it's very defensive. This is obviously my aggro route. Today I had to be very careful about my battle cards and how many I played because of Cooler. So I focused on this very hardcore because I didn't have a choice. Obviously, I play too many battle cards against Cooler. It's a bit of a problem. Excuse me. Obviously, Cooler is a big problem for this leader too if you play too many battle cards, because I'm also drawing on my turn, or my opponent's turn as well as my turn. So I'm siphoning through cards pretty quickly just on my own. So I got to be kind of careful how I sequence my battle card plays and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm a little salty about the Cooler play. But in the end, I guess it didn't really matter. But hardcore, recommend. It's phenomenal. Secret rare, no surprise. It's blue defense. If I had the Gohan Beast, I might put that in here, but I don't know. I've always loved the secret rare. Arguably one of the best blue secret rares in the game, if not the best. So, and then you can obviously tap out and not have any problems, blah, 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 and yeah, everyone knows what this does.
Did you ever break on your Unison since you're playing like 12 of them?
Surprisingly, no, but that is a thing that can happen, and of course, it's something I'm afraid of. The deck siphons through stuff pretty easily, fortunately, so that's not something I have to worry about too often. But obviously, that is something I pay close attention to, which is why I run 1 of that Vegeta, which helps, 2 of this card, which this card is super clutch in this. I'll explain why in a minute. 2 Cells, because Cell is just great removal. Beerus, because he is just good generic blue, and then a Vegito, same reason, good generic blue. This card actually came in super clutch in one of my Cooler matchups, because this card is literally placed up to, for the first skill, place up to when your Z energy in the drop area, give a card plus 10K, any card, so that is Unisons. So, this. And then choose 1 of your opponent's battle cards, energy costs 2 or less, and it's bottom deck it. I never used that skill. And then the bottom skill, however, though, the activate battle, pay 1 energy, place 3 of your Z energy in the drop area, remove this card from the game, draw a card, play a shadow token with blocker, that's whatever, but then you give 1 of your battle cards plus 15K power. So I did that one game, and just on top of the 35K, now it's, what, 50K with 2 cards, and that's not even including any combos. So that's just nuts right there. For very little energy, for this Unison sticking out, I mean, this is just nuts. I love it very, very much. And the Beerus, everybody knows, I think at this point, barrier, when you tax, choose one of your opponent's battle cards. Energy cost greater than their current energy. Bottom deck it, he gains plus 5k, and then you can pay 2 energy to restand him if your opponent has 3 or more energy. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, bottom deck it, and he gains dual attack. So he just keeps going, because that first auto was not once per turn. And then the cell.
Closing up in less than 10 minutes here. We got an event going on.
And then yeah, the cell is basically, everyone knows what the cell does. So
thank you guys.
yeah, that's pretty much it. So matchups, as I said 16 times in my salts, 3 coolers, and 1 black Patara Vegito. That player was a little new, so I kind of guide him through that deck, but he piloted it pretty well. Of course, I ended up winning because he was a newer player. My first 2 cooler matches, all 3 cooler matches, honestly, were just insanely obnoxious. I had to play around. I had to play only unisons. I had to play very, very carefully with my battle cards, so they were all obnoxious. But technically, I won all of them. Last one was kind of a wash, but yeah, so not much to say about my matchups there.
You ended in time with 6 life still, so that is a dub. With that being said, guys, that was his profile. If you guys enjoyed this list or my content in general, remember, smash all those buttons for us, and we will always see you guys next time.